Hi, Sushmita here. Today I am going to again start with physics, kinematics chapter 3 for class 11. In part 1, I am going to discuss what is kinematics, what is rest, motion, types of motion. Well, you are pretty aware of these things from starting from class 6. But I want you to understand in full length and how to use it in proper ways in future studies. So before I start, I will highly recommend to subscribe to my channel because it will only be available to subscribers. That's why I don't want you to miss out on anything, and I suggest you to subscribe. So let's get started here. Now there are three things I need to discuss. First of all, what is kinematics? Before that, I want to say what is mechanics actually. Now, mechanics deals with motion of object materials, right? It is very important to understand the motion of object materials are studied by a branch of physics which is called mechanics. Now, if I divide it into I can actually divide it into three parts. That is statics. Okay, what is statics? I'll let you know. Then comes kinematics, which we are going to study, and what it is specifically, how it is different from statics also. I'll let you explain. Let you know. Then it is dynamics. Okay, these terms are pretty relevant to you. You must have heard of it. But what matters here is statics relate to objects at rest. Those who are at rest, we say them that this is the branch of mechanics that it deals with the study of materials or objects which are at rest. That's why the name came statics. Okay, then comes kinematics. Now it deals with the motion of the objects, of course, but it happens so it does not deal, or there is no need to deal with the reason of motion or cause of motion. Okay, we are not digging deep, we are just seeing how the motion is happening, and we are just observing the motion itself without digging deep into the reason or cause behind it. Now coming into dynamics part, here we are dealing with motion, alongside with we are discussing also the reason behind it, or the external force, if any, if that is dealing that is happening to be a part of it. So it deals with study of motion of objects, taking into account also the factors which causes the motion. So these are three types of mechanics, and here we are going to emphasize only on kinematics part, which is that's why I started little intro here. Now, as I said in the PPT, there are three things I need to discuss. When we are speaking of motion, we must speak of also rest, right? Now, when we are telling rest, nothing is at absolute rest, and we know that. How so? Here I need to remind you that everything on earth, a house, let it be a thatched house, let it be a table or chair, which I cannot draw here, or any non-living thing, you can think of a mountain, okay, or tree, anything you think of. Now these things, we can say they are at rest. To whom? To us who are passing by them, right? But at the same time, we should consider that the tree on earth is actually moving at a very high speed, because the earth is having revolution around the sun, and also it is rotating around itself. So with these three, these two things happening, how can we say that tree is at absolute rest? So there is nothing like that. There is no concept of absolute rest. It is a relative term used with respect to the observer, which it may happen we are the observer, or it may happen the man sitting inside the house, he or she may be an observer. But the thing is, the rest is relative to the observer, or with respect to whom we are considering it. So absolute rest is not happening anywhere. Okay, that you must understand. So if there are two things, that is motion and rest, then I must say, if I am going to define rest, then I will simply say, if a body doesn't change, okay, it is does not change its position with respect to time, then I will say, with I simply wrote with respect to, I simply write time. So with time, after each passing hour, if I'm seeing the tree is at the same position, then I'll say the tree is at rest. Okay, I may be going crossing it and again coming back, the tree is at the same place, the house is at the same place. That's how Google Map is working, otherwise it will go nuts. So I would say, but if a body doesn't change its position with respect to time, then we will say it is at rest. Now coming to motion, if a body changes its position, it is the just the opposite of it, changes position with respect to time. Okay, so then it would be motion. Now rest or motion are two relative terms depending upon the observer, with respect to the observer, as we have discussed already. Okay. Now, I want to elaborate on a quick example of how rest and motions can be explained as relative, are relative terms. How you are going to explain it with an proper example? Well, all are proper example. The tree standing, it is also a proper example. Still, I will tell. See, there are two trains, right? Okay, you are sitting in one train, and you may feel that you may feel that the train besides you, if it is starts moving, then the fellow passenger, the person here, he will also feel that you are at rest, but he will feel, to him, this train is moving, right? Similarly, but you are at rest. You are at rest to your fellow passengers, but not with respect to this train. You are in train 1 and the train 2 started moving. So it is in motion with respect to you, but you are at rest with respect to your fellow passengers. Same, you are standing on a road, okay? Or vehicle passes by, or a cycle passes by with a person in it. Now for the person in the cycle, if he is moving and you are at rest, right? Now for you are at rest, the person is moving. But if there are two persons in that cycle, if it happens, there are two persons in that cycle. So for these two persons in cycle, it may happen as they are moving with uniform speed. If it happens so, in one straight line along the road, it may happen for these two fellow passengers traveling in the cycle or scooty or something like that, or in a car, for these two, they are at rest with each other, with respect to each other. You must understand this. Now, for these two boys, you appears to be at rest. For you, these two boys are in motion. But for each of them, if you think, as they are traveling at uniform speed and along a line, it may happen that the person sitting next to the cyclist will think that they are at rest. That's why it is said that rest and motion are relative terms. Actually, they depend upon the observer, where the observer is situated. According to that, they emphasize whether they are at rest or at motion. Okay, so next we will cover up types of motion, which is types of motion. Okay, what are they? You must be knowing it. Still, I am making a flow chart just to get used to it, so that you will also emphasize, remember what else you have studied in your lower classes or previous years. Now, first one will be rectilinear. Okay, or I can say or translatory. And what do you mean by why I am putting or and I am writing it different ways? I will let you know why. Next comes circular or rotatory. Next comes oscillatory or vibratory. Okay, so if this happens like this, how to deal with it? And how you must be knowing, rectilinear means it is a motion in a body, like the body must be a point mass. This has to be emphasized here. Okay, all are point mass in rectilinear, circular and oscillatory. Now if it is not a point mass, then it will be translatory or rotatory or vibratory. So what's the difference? What's the big deal about this point mass? I'll let you know after I finish explaining these all. Okay, now what is rectilinear? That means the point mass body is moving along a straight line like this. Okay, along a straight line. Now translatory is the same, only difference is the body is not a point mass, but all its constituent particles are moving simultaneously along. It may happen that the body is moving in straight parallel lines. They are actually covering a straight line, but the thing is the body is not a point mass. So we have to imagine all the substituent particles inside the body are moving in parallel straight lines, right? That's why it will be called translatory. Same with circular. Circular means the body is having like circular, moving in a circular, and it is a point mass. But what is rotatory then? See, if you think of a spear or a ball, now when you hit it or kick it, now the ball is touching the path along it at different point of time, isn't it? So it is touching this point at this point. After some time it is touching this point, right? After some time it is touching this point. So there are different points being touched by the path. It may be a circular one, but it will be called rotatory because the spear or the circular item which is constituting, it is not a point mass. That's why, as it has got definite mass and it is rotating around its axis also. So axis plays a very vital role in rotatory motion. We'll come to that. Then comes, for a point mass, oscillatory. What is oscillatory? Oscillatory means motion in which the body moves to and fro. You know this term very well, to and fro motion. For a point mass, of course, and it moves to and fro about which point? Fixed point, right? And that fixed point is called mean position, isn't it? The fixed point is called mean position. And the simple example of it is pendulum of a clock. But if it is not a point mass, then I will tell it a vibratory motion. Okay, so what is the big deal about point mass? Well, before going into that, I would like to say, in each of these motions, may it be rectilinear or circular or rotatory or translatory or oscillatory or vibratory, it may happen, it may be uniform motion or non-uniform, which we will discuss further as we advance in our classes. So first of all, I would like you to know what is a point mass, why it is important to study about it. Now when we are discussing about point mass, we are telling, though it is a particle having a mass, okay, let it be a small ball, tennis ball, but it is thrown at such a speed, so it covers a distance which is actually it is very greater than its own dimension and size. Okay, now our earth is revolving around the sun. Now the size of the earth is very less compared to the distance covered by earth around the sun. Okay, that's why we consider that anything inside on earth would be considered as a point mass, because it is covering such a big distance when compared to its size. Like a human, okay, he is 70 kg, but when the earth is taking rotation around the sun, it is actually covering a huge orbit which is very bigger than the 70 kg, or I can say 5 feet and 3 inches tall person. It is nothing. So that's why I will consider the person on earth as a point mass. Okay, and that's why this is important in like translatory or circular or oscillatory. We are just neglecting the size of it. Okay, we are neglecting the size. That's how important point mass is, because during the motion in a given time, it covers distances which is much greater than its own size. Now that's why we are telling that it is a point object. Now if we think that why we are taking the point object point mass into account, so if we add earth mass in a problem with the man's mass, it will be very much complicated, isn't it? We will add earth's mass, and we will take account earth's mass, then we will add man's mass also account. So we will also take into account the tree standing near it. We will also take into account the home he is sitting in. So these things have to be taken into account. That's why we suggested point mass, to avoid all these complications. Okay, for ease of our calculation, we discarded or neglected the value of the thing or the size of the thing in the bigger picture. Okay, so that's why point mass came into the picture. Now, as I already said, please subscribe to my channel. I hope you do like my video. I will see that with likes, and any doubt if you have any doubt, please write in the comment section. Otherwise, do subscribe my channel and stay updated with all the notification in your personalized email. Take care. Have a good day.